everybody, we're back for day 8 and as promised we're going to do a little bit of tea or coffee staining. So I thought what I'd talk about is your signature page. You should have a rough idea of what size it is, and I found a book I wanted to pull apart and realised that it was almost the right size. It doesn't matter, I can cut these back, and if it's a bit shorter it doesn't matter for me. But you might find a book with pages that are bigger. So I've got quite a few of those. I've got some pages from an old music book. These are not necessarily for your journal that we're doing right now, but because I'm doing a batch, I might as well stick some other things in it. I have a map I've ripped up that I wanted to put in and just coffee stain it and make it a little bit more grungy. Paris, I went to Paris, so that's my Paris map. I have pulled apart an old atlas that just has been sitting on the shelf. Honestly, it's been sitting on the shelf for probably 25 years, maybe longer, and I don't think anyone's ever got it out and opened it, so I figured it's free reign. So I've got that one as well. So I've got lots actually to do, but for the most part we're looking to only maybe do you know, a couple of dotteds, a couple of lined, a couple of grids. So I'm doing others because I'm just going to do a big batch. This was yesterday. I put the link for Donna's how to make your own dotted page and then just print out. It's just printed out on normal copy paper. So I've made some of those, and I printed both sides. Okay, so I've got some grid paper. I've got some lined dotted thirds, which is more the children's book, and I've got some foolscap. Now with the mix, I've just made an incredibly strong coffee. Smells pretty good. You could make, if you're making tea, I usually actually use tea, but I found this old coffee at the back of my pantry, and I went, well, I don't actually drink coffee unless it's decaf, and so I'm going to use it. I would imagine there's about 3 tablespoons of coffee in just this amount of water. So it smells really lovely. I love that smell. I do have a previous video where I've shown that I've used the tray as a way to put them in and support them. So I got a new tray because I made a big batch, and look, this is how it gets. It gets really grungy, but I've made a big batch of coloured. This is another option. You can put the doilies in between each one as well. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that because there is already a previous YouTube that I've done, and yes, so I'll put that in the link below. So you've got the option of doing them on here and placing them in, or just placing them in. I just wanted to say there's a couple of other things. So there's plenty of things you can dye while you're doing this. So I've got a couple of glassine bags that I'll put in. I've got some of these sort of raw coffee filters. I've got some journaling cards, which are great for tuck spots to write on. And I've got a couple of pay envelopes, which are really good because they've got you can put things in, hide them, slip them into tuck spots, etc. All right, so I'm going to show you just the real basics. A lot of people will put them into a submerged bath and leave them sit for a while and then take them out. I've been favouring this way because I've got so many things to do that I think it's quite good to be able to just do them and leave them and forget about them for a couple of days and then come back to them, move them, pull them apart, all sorts of things. Put them in the sun. And it saves you a lot of time with the So if you put them in the oven, you've got to stand there and you've got to look at how they're done. And this is a method I was watching on Medieval Mirage. So if you end up watching my original tutorial on these, there's a link to Medieval Mirage's tutorials as well. Okay, so as you can see, I'm already getting lots of shapes, and I love it. I'm not actually worried about that at all. But I am going to have to build up a bit. Honestly, I might just use a couple of these, because this tray would have been much nicer to have a flat, you know, just a flat bottom one. But oh look, it's already getting a bit of embossing from the name. Oh, I love that. How good is it? Alright, I am going to use a few of these. I just think, especially for the bottom, it gives it a good bit of a spongy bit. Now they're just draw liners. They're nothing. You can get them at your local supermarket. A couple of dollars. Draw liners. They're plastic, so you can keep using them. I think we find our own way to do these things. Someone might say, oh, I'd never do it that way, but that's okay. It's, well, you know, this is my house. I'm doing it my way, always. So you can see that it's not really super dark, but you might not want it super dark. And I think, you know, that the real beauty of this sort of stuff is really that it's, once again, I've already said it, recycling. But also there's that element of you know, the paint splatter and the stained and the antique-y look. Right, so let's get a couple of these lined thirds. All these papers are different too. If you get a more expensive page, it's going to be better quality paper, obviously. Some of these pages that I've got, and look, I love that already. Some of these pages I've got are we've got in Australia, I think it's Australia-wide, I'm not sure. But anyway, there's a shop called Officeworks, and they'll just sometimes have, you know, for parent budgets for kids, they'll just have really like 90 cents scrapbook thingies and writing books for kids for school, so as it doesn't cost so much for parents. And I do find that I like to try and get these ones, the thinner ones, relatively dry before I start to muck around with them, because as soon as they get really wet, they're actually quite easy to tear. I wasn't going to do this because I was just going to keep it very simple, but I can't help myself. I just get carried away. have too much fun with it. So I did say yesterday to make sure that your coffee has cooled down. The cooler it is, the better, because as I've found when I was doing my coffee paper staining, there's another YouTube that I've got, the coffee filter papers, and I was making tie-dyed. I think the heading of it's tie-dyed coffee filter papers if you want to go and have a look at it. When I was using the coffee, I hadn't cooled it down, and so the fibres in the paper just absorb that heat really quickly, and the paper becomes very, very, very soft, and it's very easy to just smush it into a pulp. Right, so I've got my lid. There's a couple of uses for this grid paper. It's good because it's lined, so you can write on it. But the other thing about it, if you do any artworks or drawing, is that it gives you a grid if you're wanting to do some faces or anything like that. It gives you the squares to match it all up and get your perspective right. I'm not going to be too fussy about it bubbling up because I think it will create a bit of interest in the page. I hope it's all on screen properly. And just going to tell you the dotted thirds. Now the dotted thirds have been done on my printer on copy paper, so the paper is a bit thicker. Now if you wanted to, you could just do one side and just have a look how it would look. That would be the other side, how it would look. And I really love that. Like, that to me is something I would enjoy as a background. You can see that by this side being wet, the dots are showing through a little bit on this side. This to me looks a little bit more like a old computer paper, which is quite delicious to me. I don't mind it. So I'm just going to do one more of the dotted thirds, and that's really enough for you to go on with. I will probably do a bit more, but what I might do is leave the camera running and just speed it up, and you can have a look at the other ones as I go. Don't get overwhelmed though, because if you haven't done this before, it's really not hard, and it's just always just have fun with it, have a play. That's the whole idea, isn't it? Just having our creative play date with ourselves. And why not? Because we deserve it. That's what I say. Okay, so I don't want to do any more in this tub because I think it can take the middle ones quite a long time to dry. And also I'm aware that if you haven't done these before, you can just, you don't need to do as much as I've done. I just want to do one more thing. This is how I would like to end it, because this is a top bit, so I can actually have a little bit more leeway with this without the other sheets filling it up. So a splatter effect is really good too. Okay, that's how I'm going to end this. I didn't do the map. I didn't end up putting the map in. I didn't end up putting my book that I just pulled apart for this purpose. And I didn't end up putting in any of the music sheet pages, but I've got another tub. And the thing about this is it's already fairly full. I'm just going to tip it. So you can see sometimes there's a bit. So there might be, if you've been heavy-handed with the brush, there's nothing wrong with that. This bit I will just tip back into my cup of coffee, and I will use that for my next batch that I'm going to do this afternoon. I just want to put a little insert into this video because I realised I didn't really say anything much about the oven drying method. This method is what works really well if you want to leave it in the corner of a room near the heater out in the sun for a couple of days. What I think I should have mentioned was that not only do you need to stand there and watch them, but you've got to have the oven at the right temperature, put them in, take them out. I don't actually have a tutorial on that, but what I might do is, I think Mrs. Coggs might have a really good one, so I'll have a look through and find a really good tutorial on the oven dyeing, and I'll put the link below because I realised I missed mentioning that. So anyway, I hope you have fun with it. How many times have I got to say this? Come on, Christina, stop saying it. No, it's good to say it. Have fun with it. Hope you're having a lovely day, and I will see you for day 9 tomorrow. Bye for now.